In this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you a decision that we made inside of Bear Claw that I believe will change the course of our business. Welcome to another episode of the OWNR OPS Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Gray, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different this morning. I'm going to be recording this live inside the school group. They just released a live stream feature for school. For those of you who are not familiar with school, it is one of Sam Ovens and Alex Hormozy's projects. It's basically a platform for online education, and I have jumped on the platform and really enjoy using it. As we've grown our business, I'm using it to document processes and SOPs, and basically just get things out of my head and put them into video, and then document them into playbooks. And we can use this for one of two things. For listeners who want to grow their business, I'm offering a free school group where you can jump in and get help with things like how to optimize your Google business profile, how to optimize Facebook ads, how to set up systems like Jobber to optimize your business on the back end. I even do a messaging framework where I just kind of use ChatGPT to get really clear on the messaging for the ideal customer profile. By the end of this, though, I'm going to share with you a decision that we just made in Bear Claw that will change what we are doing moving forward. And it came down to focus. Focus, focus, focus. Of the people who I've interviewed on the podcast who seem to be doing the best have one thing in common. And that thing is that they choose to focus on one service and dominate their service area. In the beginning of starting our business, I didn't know if we were going to be a tree company. I didn't know if we were going to be a dirt company or a snow company. And so I chose a pretty general name, Land Services, due to my inexperience. And ultimately, it came down to confidence. And I think a lot of us as contractors, blue collar guys, if you grow up working in construction, you learn a lot about a lot of different things. My dad was a home builder. He also had a concrete business. He basically did every phase of building the home, and I grew up working around him. And so I got a lot of experience doing a bunch of different things. And so therefore, I ended up with kind of being like a jack of all trades from a skills perspective. And I see a lot of construction guys or blue collar guys in that same boat. Brock Peel, for example, who I've had on the podcast, he is the guy who went from 0 to 2.3 in septics. He struggled with the same thing. He was a general contractor, and then he was saying yes to everything associated with the construction process, but he made one decision. He tells me, and he's told me on the podcast multiple times, I think I've had him on 3 or 4 times, I had to make a conscious decision that I was going to focus on becoming the best septic installer in our area. And when he made that decision, he says that things became more clear. Didn't necessarily get easier, because building a business is hard and it's challenging, but the direction became clear. Now he's able to focus all of his marketing, all of his estimating, all of his sales process, and become really, really good at installing septics. And that allows he and his team to get more reps to become better. It's the age-old saying, practice makes perfect. Well, the only way you practice is if you actually put in the reps. And so what I learned here over the last 3 years is that it's easy to say yes. When you get into business, the easy thing is to say yes and accept the work that people are willing to pay you money for. The hard thing is to say no and specialize, at least for me. And I believe that that comes from a scarcity mindset. And I'm not proud to admit that that's where I was living for the last 3 years. But whenever you're starting out, you have that in the back of your head. Like, what if there are not enough people who are willing to pay me for this service? So when I started out, I specifically, my first job was a brush removal job we have these bushes called junipers out in the Colorado mountains. It is our underbrush, highly flammable material, and they are encouraged to be removed from residential properties because of the flammability. When a fire comes through, those junipers basically explode. They send flames up to the branches and the trees, and then the trees catch on fire, and then you end up with a crown fire. In the scenarios of wildfire, the goal is to keep the fire on the ground so that the firefighters can help fight the fire. Once it gets into the crowns, into the tops of the trees, and it starts jumping, that's when you have these devastating fires like we had in 2020 where we live. So I'd been hearing this conversation of wildfire mitigation, and when I had the skid steer on site to build my house, neighbor asked if I could bring the skid steer over, remove the junipers, aka the brush, from his property because of insurance requirements. And so that sparked ding, 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 there's an opportunity there. So I went and I did that for them, but I didn't really exactly know how to target it because the search volume for wildfire mitigation is pretty low. Once I did like the SEO analysis. And so my best guess was to optimize for being a tree service. But I had to buy a skid steer in order to do that. And I knew I was going to have to make, at least a $2,000 a month payment. And so in my mind, I thought, well, I can offer gravel driveways as well to optimize for cash flow in the early days. So I started doing that. I started taking on driveways and repairing driveways. And this lack of focus, as I started building my team, ended up attracting the people who inside the business who wanted to go do trees and do dirt at the same time. And long story short, we've said yes to trees and dirt for the first 3 years of business. It's been primarily trees, but this year being our third summer in business, I've noticed one thing, and what I'm going to share with you in this episode was a hard decision, but it was a decision that we needed to make if we want to go to the next level. They say what gets you from 0 to 1 won't be the same thing that gets you from 1 to 10. And so the main learning that I've taken away from interviewing successful entrepreneurs on the podcast is that the people who are building the biggest and best businesses are the ones who specialize in a service and they just do more of that service. And so this concept really, ever since I've interviewed Brock over a year ago, has just been burning in my mind. And I've known that we were going to have to face this decision at some point. So what led me to this decision of focusing on trees? Let me tell you the story. So we start off this year. We're saying yes to dirt. We're saying yes to trees. Our trees are booking up on the schedule. Our dirt jobs are booking up on the schedule in the beginning of the year. We took on a foundation job. We dug a foundation. We committed to what we commit to internally, which is delivering 5-star service. We knocked it out of the park, or our crew knocked it out of the park. They did a fantastic job. They got in front of the concrete contractor. The builder was super happy. The concrete contractor was a longtime local here. Trained a couple of the other guys who own concrete businesses. And I have a text from him specifically because I was checking in with him throughout the process. Hey, just make sure that, I would love for you to communicate if you see anything that you would like done differently. And I have a text from him saying something like, this was an incredible job. I will be recommending you guys in the future. And so that's what makes this really, really hard, is because we have a great dirt crew. Our operator who leads that is an incredible operator, and he understands how to dig foundations, and he commits to excellence in whatever he does. You see, the issue is that right now, September 16th, I guess about a month ago, at the beginning of August, into July, I started realizing that our tree jobs were booking way out into the future, like 3 months plus. As it stands today, in September 16th, we have jobs on our jobber schedule starting in February. Now, there's no way that we're going to be able to do tree jobs in February because if any of you are listening who know about the climate we live in, we have snow for a solid 5 months out of the year. We live in, like, arguably, they call it the ice box, one of the coldest places in the lower 48. We live in a ski town. Um, it dumps snow here. So the snow physically will not allow us to do trees all year long. So as I was looking at the schedule back in July, I'm starting to notice this trend. Tree jobs are booking up. They're for good. We're winning them for the amounts that we need to win them to be profitable. But our dirt jobs, it's not that we're behind. It's not that we were lacking enough work to keep going. It's that we weren't booked out as far. And I called our project manager. He handles all of our estimating as well. And I just asked him, where's your time going right now? Just talk to me about I'll consistently check him. I always ask him, or I frequently ask him, what are your energy levels like on a scale of 1 to 10? And I want to make sure that we're keeping him up like above 7. 10 being like, this is the greatest day ever. 0 being, this is the worst day ever. I'm super depressed, right? And so I always want to keep a pulse on that, because my goal with business is, like, I love building teams and just putting people in the right place that they're going to be successful. And that usually comes down to, like, finding what people enjoy doing about business and then just structuring the role around them and around their strengths, right? And so I want to make sure that he's above a 7 at all times. And if he ever dips down below that, we need to have a conversation about, like, what is it that's, causing stress, or that's causing overburden, or causing overwork. And when I asked him, where is your time going, after I asked him about his energy, he said, well, I'm spending about 80% of my time on the logistics associated with dirt. And I just stopped because I was staring at the schedule. And I said, well, how much time are you spending on the trees? He's like, 20% or less. He's spending 20% or less of his time on the estimating, on the actual sales process, on, like, building relationships with those customers. And we're booking out into February. Yet 80% of his time is going into the one thing that is to the service that feels like pulling teeth or pushing a boulder up the hill right now. Now, what I'm about to say is, or what this may sound like, is we're straying away from a challenge. The reality is, getting any business off the ground and getting any service off the ground is going to be pushing the boulder up the hill. But what I came to realize is that our tree jobs are booking. At this point, we're in September. We have jobs booked through the end of January, at least on the schedule. And we're not even applying our best effort and energy there to closing those jobs. So from a marketing, sales, and operations standpoint, we're not giving that service our best that we could be, because my marketing efforts are being pulled trying to, basically what this makes us do when dirt jobs are not booked out as far. I'm thinking about, how do we market dirt jobs? How do we sell dirt jobs? When what I should be doing as a marketer is figuring out, how do we pour more gas on the fire that's already working? As a salesperson, our project manager, who is responsible for estimating and selling the job, he's spending 80% of his time building the dirt crew and trying to coordinate all the logistics that go along with an excavation job. Think about it. all the trucking that's involved. We don't have any trucks in-house. We subcontract all that. All the materials, all the septic ordering, all the septic estimating. As you guys know, if you're in the dirt game, that's a lot. And you need a lot of experience to be really good at that game. Not to mention digging foundations, you're more under the gun on contractors' schedules. You got guys calling you, right? Like, hey, we got concrete lined up for this date. We need you to be dug by this date. Hey, we got concrete line, coming back. We need you to backfill by this date. Oh, hey, that changed because their concrete, like their schedules are pushed around. Whereas on the tree side or when I'm referring to tree side, I'll get to this here shortly on what exactly we do and what service we offer. But it's more of a forestry job, right? We're doing multi-acre residential properties and we're cleaning up the forest. So we're not under the gun with the construction schedule, which is a beautiful thing from a scheduling perspective because we don't have the pressure of other contractors or builders to meet this strict schedule. So take a step back here. As I started to look more into the data that we're tracking, I'm going to show you, I'm going to share my screen here and show you this tool that we built so that I can track this. Long story short, if you're watching on video, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or podcast player, it's totally fine. What I'm going to do is talk through the metrics here that this tool allows us to track. And ultimately, what I realized is that our average job size is anywhere between, depending on the month I select, it's anywhere between $10,000 and $13,000. All right. This is tracking from August 17th to September 16th. This tool shows us how many leads we've received, how many quotes we've sent, how many jobs we've won, how much revenue we've won, and the average job size. So in that month, over the last month, we've received 39 new leads. We've sent 30 quotes. We've won 11 jobs for a total of $111,733. And our average job size over the last month that we've been booking on the schedule is $10,157. So once I started looking at this, I started going down through each job. And sure, the foundation and the excavation, like those are high numbers, right? They're six-figure digs. And it's fun to go look at the revenue numbers. But when you actually break it down from a time perspective, and we haven't job costed it yet because we haven't closed out the excavation job yet, but I'll know exactly how much profit we generated on a 100,000 plus job after we wrap that one up. But so the reality is I don't know the answers to that yet. What I do know is we have our best operator on the dirt side. We have jobs that are booking up on the tree side like crazy. We're not even applying our best effort there right now from a marketing and sales perspective because I'm distracted. I'm trying to go market dirt stuff when I should be pouring gas on the fire with tree stuff. Our sales guy is not selling the tree stuff because he's distracted with dirt logistics. And then our tree guys, we've hired this crew, we've built them in-house, and we've delegated leadership there. And we do have an experienced foreman there, yet he is not being able to have the necessary training or experience or operational experience that I would love to provide him with from the guy who's leading our field crew, the guy who's best at operating equipment on our team. And so all of these things came together and it hit me like a ton of bricks. We need to focus. We absolutely need to focus. And so here's the decision I made. We got on the phone and I said, guys, I believe that we need to focus on fire mitigation jobs. Okay, so for those of you who are listening who don't know what fire mitigation is, the best way I can describe it, wildfire mitigation, the work that's associated with it is forestry work or tree work, however you want to word it, that is designed to reduce the flammable fuels and vegetation on somebody's property in the mountains. Okay, in the Western United States, we have what's called the WUI, Wildland Urban Interface. In short, that just means we're building homes and developments in the areas that are prone to wildfire risk. For those of you who have seen, who have been not living under a rock for the last year, you've heard about the fire in California. Wildfires are prevalent in the western United States, and they're only going to continue to get worse. In Colorado specifically, and other areas of the western United States, there is dead wood littered across the forest floor. We had the pine beetle come through in the 2000s, kill a bunch of trees, and there's wood that's fallen over on the floor, and it's just, we call it jack straw, which is basically stacked up on top of each other. It's just a huge tinderbox waiting to explode. So the state and the federal government are encouraging homeowners, and even insurance companies are encouraging homeowners to clean up their properties to reduce the amount of fuel load here. So what is a wildfire mitigation contractor? We're larger than a tree service. We're smaller than a logging company. Why? Tree service, really, really good and optimized for going and trimming trees, like single, double tree removals. Logging companies, great for large projects. As you know, like they make money off cutting timber and hauling the timber. Wildfire mitigation, there's this unique spot between 1 and 35 acres where a tree service isn't optimized to service that property, and a logging outfit is not going to mobilize their several $1 million worth of equipment down to a 35-acre project. There is a certain threshold that only makes sense for a logging company to operate on. I mean, you guys have seen those huge machines. So what we've done from a wildfire mitigation perspective is we have built a forestry crew that's lighter than a logging company, but heavier than a tree service. And we're able to be nimble enough to mobilize to these residential properties. Now, the opportunity here lies within the fact that there are tons of second homes throughout the western United States. This is where a lot of people have vacation or ski homes. These properties are often neglected. They're owned by people who have expendable income, and they just want to hire somebody else to do it. And so with the pressure that's coming from the state, with the federal government, and local wildfire councils, and also insurance companies, there's a demand to go clean up these properties. When I started this business, I wrote down, after I did that first job, I had the vision. We're on a mission to clean up the Colorado forests. But it's so easy to have the idea or have the vision and then stray away because people are willing to pay you money for repairing their driveway, for digging their foundation. We have all this equipment, right? Hey, we can go make more money. This is the exact conversation we had internally. One of our guys came to me and was like, hey, we can make more money by doing dirt jobs. And I agreed. I'm like, yeah, we already have the equipment. We can go do it. But here's why. Here's why it's an opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is that we don't have our best foot forward on marketing. We don't have our best foot forward on sales. We don't have our best foot forward on operations. Why? Because we're distracted and we're unfocused. And so I finally just said, you know what? We have enough demand on the schedule. We're booking. If I don't make this decision to focus, then I'm doing us as a team a disservice. And so this is me sharing this concept of, in the early days, we said yes to way too many things. And I could sit here and argue with myself whether it was a good or a bad thing. What I won't discount or discredit is the fact that we did optimize for cash flow, and we built the business to a point to where it could sustain itself. So I won't argue with myself on that. There's another side of me that if I would have had the capital to fund this thing immediately, I would go back and I would just focus on the one service, and I would pour all my dollars into marketing that service, which is wildfire mitigation. And then I would just build it and only say yes to those jobs. Now I'm 3 years in and we're having to make these operational changes. We're having to pull our dirt crew over into the forestry side. And I'm really glad that we made it now, because we were at the point to where we were considering buying equipment for dirt. And that's where it really hit me. When I started running the numbers on that, I said, okay, we're going to have to go buy separate equipment. We're going to go have to build different SOPs or different operating procedures. I'm going to be responsible for marketing a whole different service. So yes, it's just a different division inside of your business, but if you're basically running two marketing plans. If you're the marketer in your business, you've got to go market for this service and you've got to go market for this service. So there's really no clear funnel for entry point into your business for the customers. You see, now that we're focusing, and here's what I would recommend if you're starting out: pick one service, focus all your time, effort, and energy on the marketing, and become known for that service. Because this is what's called top of funnel. As a marketer, you have awareness at the very top. When people hear about you, they're going to go visit your website. They're going to visit your Google business profile. They're going to visit your Facebook page. And if you say, hey, we do all of these different things, then they're like, okay, cool. They're the jack of all trades, but they're not specialists in anything. All right. If you're like, there's this saying, right, that I've been hearing, other people who have chosen to focus talk about. It's like, if you need brain surgery, you're not hiring the guy who can do brains and he also operates on knees for fun because he enjoys it. It's like, no, you are going to the best specialist in the whole world on operating on your brain. Same thing with a heart surgeon. Like, your heart surgeon isn't going to be a elbow specialist too. Like, he's going to be a specialist on hearts, and that's all he does. And therefore, more people seek him out because of his specialization in hearts. For us, we were trying to market way too many different things, and I believe it's capping our ability to actually grow what's working. And so I've changed our funnel, our top of funnel, and I'm making a decision to where when people hear about Bear Claw, they're going to go to Bear Claw's website and they're going to know that we do forestry and fire mitigation work. Because we want to become the specialist and we want to get more of the jobs that are already working. And then what we're going to be able to do is focus. I'll be able to focus as a marketer on creating more content, on creating better ads, on writing better emails specific to that service. I'll be able to help more people understand what they need to do on their property because of my focus. Our sales guy will be able to focus all of his effort and energy on building a sales process associated with the wildfire mitigation process. So if you go back to, I've been reading $100 million money models and went back and read $100 million offers. It's all about the offer and the process, right? So like, by focusing our sales process, we're going to be able to think about upsells, cross sells throughout the sales process, and we're going to be able to dial in that process. All right. But the only way that we're going to be able to do that is to reallocate that 80% of time that was being thrown at dirt logistics and estimating, and reallocate that time of our project managers to go into building the sales process for fire mitigation, so that we can then recruit more sales reps as we expand and grow. And then he knows that process inside and out. And then he can train more people. And then that's going to open up opportunities for him to grow as a person into a sales leader, which AKA means him making more money, furthering his career path, right? As a marketer, I'll be able to focus all of my effort and energy on refining ads, testing more ads, creating more SEO, writing more detailed blog posts, creating more how-to articles, giving more value to our potential customers. And then as the operations person who was over on our dirt side, as he moves over into our tree side, he's going to be able to teach and train on his efficiency principles, on how to operate machinery in the most efficient way possible. He's going to have the time and allocation to build those SOPs in the field and to train guys on that and to spend the necessary time and to recruit the right talent and put people in the right places. But this summer, we've just been scattered. And so, look, this could completely backfire next year. It could. And there's always the fear of what if it doesn't work? But as of right now, I'm so confident in this decision based on the data that we see. We have to go get more leads, send more quotes, win more jobs, and be at the average job size that we are. If you break down the metric that Hormozy coaches people to operate under, it's figure out your average order value. For us, it's average job size. So let's say that that's 10,000 right here, just for round numbers sake, if you're listening. Typical gross profit. The definition for those of you who don't know of gross profit is your total revenue less your cost of goods sold. For us, in cost of goods sold in forestry, it's a very simple business. We have fuel, we have our equipment cost, and we have labor. After you subtract those on a job, you get your gross profit. Then, once you take out your fixed expenses, you get your net profit, right? Or AKA your overhead expenses. You get to net profit. So real quick overview, anybody who's listening, who's not familiar with these concepts, it's total revenue less cost of goods sold equals gross profit. That gross profit is what we want to know from an average job size perspective. So if our average job size is 10,000, it would be safe to run numbers. We're shooting for 50% gross profit. All right. After we subtract equipment, labor, and fuel, we want to be at 50% gross profit. But just to be safe, let's run those numbers at 40%. Now, why am I running 40%? Well, Sam Alsop, who I've had on the podcast multiple times now, owns a $30 million a year roofing business. How did he get there? He focused on roofing and he did just this exact strategy. He focused all his marketing and efforts on selling more marketing and sales efforts on selling more roofs. And then he built an operational process to fulfill. And then he just does more of what's working. He doesn't go get into siding. He doesn't go get into gutters. He sells roofs. That's all he does. And he is challenging himself to become the best at being a roofing contractor. And we're going to take a page out of his playbook and follow suit. We are going to focus on becoming the best wildfire mitigation contractor who we can be, simply for challenging ourselves to become better every single day. Sam runs 40% gross profit on his calculations. So let's say we run 40% gross profit on 10,000. What is that number? 4,000. So average gross profit of our job is $4,000. When you use a tool like this is Go High Level, by the way, if you're watching on the screen. And we customize this whole dashboard, and we have, text and email automations and sales pipelines. I've spent hundreds of hours building this thing, and I'll tell you why here shortly. But when you understand where your leads are coming from and how much you've spent to acquire those leads, you can understand what's called your customer acquisition cost. So I'll break this down for you, and I've been running these numbers pretty consistently. I'm coming up with right about a $350 customer acquisition cost. So basically what this means is through our marketing, through our total marketing spend and our agency fee, through running Facebook ads, through running Google ads, SEO services, Our blended customer acquisition cost, meaning Facebook ads, Google ads, and SEO, aka website, costs us $350 per customer to acquire the next customer. If you haven't yet, and I've said this in multiple podcasts, after this video, go watch Alex Hormozzi's video, LTV to CAC, LTV:CAC. He talks in depth about this ratio that you need to track. And this is the ratio that if you understand this, you start to realize when to pull the lever to scale. And by tracking this, I've now come to the conclusion that we have something, and I'll tell you why. So our customer acquisition costs, let's run that at 350. Our lifetime gross profit. So to break down his formula, in the video, it's called LTV to CAC. But once he dives deeper into the video, he tells you to track LTGP, which is lifetime gross profit. LTV in this situation for a one-off project-based business like ours would be the 10,000. All right. LTGP, lifetime gross profit, would be 40% of 10,000. So that's our 4,000 number. So the ratio that he wants you to track, or he encourages you to track as a business owner, is 4,000 over 350, which is lifetime gross profit over customer acquisition cost. That is an 11-to-1 LTGP to customer acquisition cost. Go watch that video. He starts talking about like 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1. He shared somewhere where if you're at 5-to-1, it's time to start growing. That means you have something. We're at 11-to-1, okay? That means that if we put $350 into our marketing machine, if all things stay the same, then we get $4,000 of gross profit back. That means if I put $1 into the marketing machine, I'm getting $11 back out of the machine. And this, if you start reading any of Hormozzi's content or books, that is how you create a money model. You put $1 in and you get $11 out. That's the simplest thing, right? Like that's the goal of the business. The goal of the business is to play the game and play the game well and become the best that you can be at operating the game. And so all this to be said, I've taken all of this information that's available to me. What was that? Okay, we said yes to dirt. What was happening? Dirt was not booked out as far as trees, and it was taking 80% of our project manager's time. Trees are booked way further out than dirt, and they have a great LTGP to CAC ratio, that 11-to-1 ratio that I'm talking about, and only 20% or less of time from our quarterback in the business is being spent on that. So like it was screaming at me, I need to make this decision. If I don't make this decision, I think that's a pretty dumb operational move, just to keep letting this thing going. So that's where we're at. We've rallied the team. We've made the decision. We just bought another chipper. And today, 15 minutes, I have our sales meeting with the project manager. And an hour after that, we have our Tuesday morning team meeting. We are putting the chipper into the fleet. We have been going hard on recruiting, which I'll do another episode on. Yeah, if you're joining here live, if you're listening, I'll do another episode tomorrow on the hiring funnel. Patrick Murphy, who I had on the podcast, he owns Cascade Home Cleaning, is an ex-Amazon employee, and he basically just like replicated their hiring process and implemented that into small service-based business, and it is beautiful. He helped me create a system for hiring. I paid him several $1,000s to implement this into our business, and it's awesome. We have been able to hire 4 new guys over the last month. We've had a couple start already, and then we have 2 more starting over the next 2 weeks. And our goal right now is to eat backlog. We have jobs on the books until February. The lever that I'm pulling or working to pull right now is go fulfill and eat backlog. So what did that challenge us to do? Well, it challenged us to rally the team behind one service, get everybody on one ship rowing in the same direction, and then go recruit more people to jump on that ship with us. And I believe that this decision right here will be a turning point in Bear Claw. That's what I believe wholeheartedly right now. So rather than be on the fence and say, okay, we're going to be doing some dirt, doing some treat. No, we're doing wildfire mitigation projects, and we specialize from 2 to 35 acres. That's what we do at Bear Claw. I've changed all of our messaging and our marketing copy, and I'm focusing all of our marketing efforts there. Our sales guy will be focusing on his sales process on that, and our operational process will be focused moving forward. Long-winded answer. I've got to wrap this up here to get to the sales meeting. But if you've been listening, I hope this has been valuable. I hope you've taken some of my learnings from my journey and you can implement that into your business. So if you are starting your business right now, my encouragement to you is pick a service, specialize in that, focus on that. The algorithms right now, Facebook, Google, YouTube, even X, like you're not going to be selling residential customers on X. That's just where the network of small business owners hang out. The main two channels that you need to sell home services in my opinion, are Google Business Profile and Facebook or Meta. Those algorithms reward specialization. The more you can specialize, the more those algorithms are going to go to work for you. So if I can encourage you in any way, shape, or form, if you're early on or starting in your business, my question for you is, what is your most profitable service? What do you want to become the best at in your market? Focus on that. Take my learnings, take my lack of focus, and use it as an example of what not to do. Because there will be a time where if you're saying yes to multiple different things and you're trying to grow the business, it's going to get very complicated. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying it can't be done, but there will be a clear winner. And the 80-20 rule always comes, well, at least in my life, it seems to come into play in every scenario. It's like 80% of your time is being dedicated to the thing that's only generating 20% of your booked jobs. I'm only spending, this is what project managers tell me, right? I'm only spending 20% of my time over here, yet 80% of our schedule that's booked up is coming from these jobs. The 80-20 rule. If you haven't looked it up, or if you're not familiar with it, go search it. I think it's called Pareto principle. 80% of your profits will come from 20% of your jobs. Or 80% of your headache customers, 80% of your headaches will come from 20% of your customers. Like, this rule plays out so many times in life. And I encourage you to figure out what 20% of your services is driving 80% of your profits, or what 20% of your business are you focusing on right now that is driving 80% of the results. What if you leaned into that and figured out how to pour more gas on that fire and do more of that thing? And look, if you're a blue collar guy, grew up working in construction like I did, it's so easy to say yes. It's so easy to be the jack of all trades and say yes to the next project when somebody asks you. But by doing that, you're never going to become a specialist and become absolutely great at the one thing that you could become world class at. My encouragement to you, if you're starting out, go specialize, pick the main service. And if you're just starting out, if you haven't done a job yet, pick one, optimize your Google Business Profile for it, optimize Facebook ads for it, and then follow up with your leads. Follow up. This system that we've built here, we are making it available to other blue collar contractors here. So I do have a free training. You can go to start.ownerops.com. That's start.ownrops.com. I am sharing with people what's worked for our Google business profile, how we're running profitable Facebook ads, and the system. It's a follow-up system and a tracking system that has allowed me to make this decision. If I didn't have access to this data inside of this system that integrates with Jobber, then I wouldn't have made this decision. But I had very clear data to make an educated decision off of. And so if you want to learn more about how you can implement this into your business, go watch the free training, start.ownerops.com. And then if you are listening to this on the podcast and you're not in the free school group yet, you can go join our free school community specifically for blue collar service business owners, school.com/ownerops, skool.com/OWNR OPS. I share things related to building a Google business profile, running Facebook ads, messaging, how to dial in your messaging to target your ideal customer, how to set up Jobber, things like that. So if you're just starting out, that free school group's for you. If you are an experienced operator or have a business that's already generating at least $20,000 a month, that free training will add some value for you. Start.ownerops.com. So I'm going to wrap this episode up because I got to get to our sales meeting. This is something a little bit different, and it's obviously different than the interview episodes. And I'm curious if you guys like this. Do you want me to do more solo episodes where I share about the learnings of owning and operating a blue collar business? If so, leave that in the comments below. Just say like thumbs up or like, yeah, loved it, please do more, or something like that. And if you don't like it, I want to hear from that. Like if you'd just rather me like stick to interviewing other people, just be like, stick to interviews. Put those in the comments. I'm specifically asking you guys for this. I'm asking for feedback here because the podcast has been a ton of fun, but I'm also looking to specialize and focus on the podcast as well, which I'll share in another episode. So I'm really curious about what you guys think here and what you want from me on this podcast. If you want more solo episodes, comment solo down below, or more solo episodes. If you want more interviews, just comment more interviews. And if you're listening on YouTube, place that in the comments below. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, you should be able to place that in the comments below as well. If you are enjoying this podcast, I would absolutely love a 5-star review. Very similar to Google business profiles. Like I encourage y'all to go optimize Google business profile. It is the single thing that if you're just starting out, that will lead to the most qualified buyers long-term. You have to set that baseline up. Go set up your Google business profile. And then the next thing you need to do is go get 5-star reviews, 5-star reviews. So just like building a Google business profile, podcast the same way. 5-star reviews help out a ton. Whatever platform you're listening on, please leave a 5-star review if it's Spotify or Apple. I would sure appreciate it. And then if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. You'll get notified whenever we drop the episodes. We publish regular interview episodes every Friday. We have a newsletter that goes out on Saturday that recaps everything. And I'm open to starting to record more solo episodes if that's what you guys want. So place that in the comments below. I hope y'all have a great week and keep crushing it out there. Don't forget, work hard, do your best, never settle for less.